Number of news items to tell you about in terms of injuries and suspensions. Some of this we've covered already. We'll go over again regarding the Screaming Eagles. Of course, the big news, perhaps the biggest news in the entire league this year, is that Drake Batherson suffering a fracture in his hand on Sunday against the Moncton Wildcats. Batherson expected to return to action by mid-December. The 19-year-old Batherson, of course, was drafted by Ottawa in the 4th round this year, currently leads the Q in scoring with 37 points in 22 games. Another injury on the Scream Eagles is defenseman Ross McDougall, who didn't play in Sunday's game in Moncton after suffering a lower body injury the prior day. Timeline for his return is yet to be determined. This season, the overage blue liner has 14 points through 21 games. Some suspensions to tell you about as well for Cape Breton. Justin Lazure missing tonight's game as a result of taking part of a second fight in the same stoppage. The 18-year-old Lazure has a goal through 17 games in his rookie Q season. Another 18-year-old defenseman, Sasha Waugh, of the Eagles, has been suspended for 4 games for an incident at the conclusion of a game in Moncton, a high hit. This season, Waugh has 4 points in 20 outings with Cape Breton. As a result of all the absences, the Eagles have recalled defenseman Ian Smallwood from South Shore of the Maritime Junior A League. The 18-year-old Smallwood was recently acquired from the Quebec Rempart and had appeared in 1 game with the Eagles already as an affiliate player. In 14 games with South Shore, Smallwood was averaging a point a game. Of course, some suspensions coming out on the Moncton end of that Moncton-Cape Breton game as the slash that injured Drake Batherson earned Dylan Seitz a 3-game suspension. This year, the 18-year-old Seitz has 14 points in 19 games with Moncton. The man that Justin Lazure fought, Liam Dunda, also gets an automatic 1-game suspension. This year, the overage Dunda has 11 points in 24 games. Tonight's opposition for Cape Breton, St. John, also dealing with a number of players sidelined due to suspensions. 18-year-old forward Robbie Burt, 20-year-old forward Cole Reginato, and 18-year-old defenseman Samuel Deschênes. Reginato has been banned for 6 games for an aggressor penalty and abuse of an official. Basically, he was in a fight, and one of his punches ended up hitting an official, so obviously that got him in trouble with the league. This season, Reginato has 9 points in 19 games. Burt has been given 2 games for boarding. This year, the 18-year-old forward had 5 points over 16 games. And as for Samuel Deschênes, just like Lazure and Dunda, he has been given a game for taking part in the second fight in the same stoppage. This year, the 18-year-old Deschênes has 1 assist through 18 games. The other player involved in the fight, 19-year-old Charlottetown defenseman Hunter Drew, also given a 1-game suspension. Drew has 11 points in 22 games this season. Some player movement to tell you about regarding the St. John Sea Dogs. Sea Dogs have called up 17-year-old defenseman Thomas Ash from the MHL's Amherst Ramblers. Ash had 1 goal in 17 games playing Junior A this season. Sea Dogs defenseman and former Screaming Eagles defenseman Marcus Tiesink has moved on from the team to play for the Chilliwack Chiefs of the BCHL, the Junior A League. Chiefs will be hosting this year's Royal Bank Cup, the national championship, at the Junior A level. Interestingly enough, the Chiefs are the former team of new Sea Dogs overager Brendan O'Reilly, who's also suffering from an undisclosed injury that's caused him to miss time. This season in St. John, the 19-year-old Tiesnik had 2 assists in 15 games with the Sea Dogs. Trade to tell you about in the queue, Drummondville has acquired 20-year-old forward Connor Bramwell from Blainville-Boisbriand. This season, Bramwell had 6 points in 10 games with the Armada and had 44 points in 68 games last season. This brings the Armada down to 3 20-year-olds, high-scoring forwards Alex Barré-Boulet, and Alex Alain, along with former Eagles defenseman Toby Bisson. Drummondville now has 4 20-year-olds with Morgan Adams-Moiseau, Yvonne Mongo, and Nathan Hudson, who is likely the odd man out. An interesting story about that, if Hudson is in fact the odd man out, that means all 3 of Drummondville's overage forwards will have been players that played for the Armada last season. So Drummondville mining Blainville for their 20-year-old crop this year. A report from the Sochi Leopards website indicates that Danil Miramonov is on his way to the Moncton Wildcats. Miramonov was traded in the offseason from Bathurst to Moncton, but decided to go back to Russia to play with Sochi in the KHL. Having played in Ontario prior to his time in the Canadian Hockey League, Miramonov is not considered an import. He had failed to record a point in 15 games in the KHL this year, but the now 20-year-old forward can produce in the Q. He had 62 points in 68 games last season with Bathurst. He should fill the third 20-year-old spot in Moncton that opened once Olivier Desjardins was traded from Moncton to Charlottetown. A couple other news items for you. The CHL goaltender of the week resides in the Q, and his name is Anthony Maroney. The Victoriaville goaltender, who was expected to be the backup in Victoriaville this season, has played very well as of late, going 2-0 over 2 starts and not allowing a single goal, stopping 61 shots, picking up 2 victories. Congratulations to QMJHL official Mark Maillet, who worked his 1,000th game this past Sunday when Bathurst visited Sherbrooke. Maillet has worked 153 regular season games and 147 playoff games. 927 of those games have come as a referee, and the remaining were as a linesman.